I just want profound. I want the O and the truth. Following on from my video with regards to nutrition, if you haven't checked that video out, do so. The second most important thing when trying to get a good physique, we all have an ideal. A lot of us find that tough to try and achieve that, right? We look at our body shape, we're like, I'm just a bit big boned, or this is as good as I can get. I don't really believe in ceilings. Ceilings are limitations. If you have a plan, then you just go forward with positivity and you give your all. Be realistic, but also have faith, have belief that you can. I think that is one thing people definitely lack. But yes, second most important thing when you think about nutrition is macronutrients. Fats, protein, carbs. So once you sorted out your calories, your energy balance, you've learnt to log, you've realised that, oh damn, a tablespoon of olive oil has 140 calories. When you realise that fats can creep in cheeky ways in your food, when you realise that when you cut carbs too low, your energy might drop a little bit, when you realise that you need to actually experience things, you almost have to practice, right? You almost have to say, okay, let's go low carb and see how that feels. Hopefully you've been on that journey and now we can go to the next stage of macronutrients. This is an important step. It is a really important step, especially when looking at composition, because when trying to preserve muscle, that's where your macronutrients are important, because muscle needs a good source of protein. It needs protein to help with protein synthesis, right? The breakdown of muscle, the turnover of muscle breaks down, it rips, then it repairs, and then it grows stronger. And proteins are the key macronutrient for that. Proteins are important for that reason. I always believe, push hard in the gym, do your best in the gym. And when it comes to foods, it is important to get protein, but don't sleep on pushing hard in the gym. Whatever you're eating, a lot of people talk about, oh, but I didn't have my protein and stuff. But think about it. If you go gym and you push hard, that's a big important factor when it comes to body composition. I'm just dropping that in there. Whatever goes on nutritionally, when it comes to train, do your flipping best. Yeah, protein. So yeah, it's an important macronutrient. It's probably the most talked about because it is important in muscle recovery. Proteins, they per gram equate to 4 calories. And then you've got carbohydrates. Okay. Now carbs, they also equate to 4 calories. And the thing with carbs, you can tend to overeat on carbs naturally. You know, breads and pastas and stuff, and they're a bit moreish. And when you have your carbs and it goes to your system, it goes to glucose, and then it causes your body to secrete insulin to help those sugars go into your muscles, into your bloodstream to be utilized. The thing is, if you have too many too quickly, you can come crashing down. You have loads of carbs, you get a high, all the blood sugars are high, and then you have a come down. That can happen. So it's something to be mindful of. Carbs are important. We can go into different types of carbs. We won't do that right now. But just know that they are an important piece of the puzzle. Some carbs are simple carbs, right? Like sugars. They're good at getting into the system quickly, right? If you need a quick burst of energy, they are really good. When I played sport, I'll be honest, we overdid the carbs. In my opinion now, as an adult that's been through a lot of stuff, I think we overdid carbs. We was having Lucozade sugar drinks all the time, pastas, rice and stuff. And yeah, because the body utilizes that for energy, and we were athletes, they made us have loads. But we actually slept on the protein. We didn't really, I don't think, have enough protein in our diet for our muscles to repair. So carbs, yeah, they have 4 calories per 1 gram. And there's different types. You've got high GI, low GI. So you've got protein, 4 calories per gram. Carbs, 4 calories per gram. And then the next and final macronutrient, fats. Boom, boom, boom. I got fat. Yeah, got a little bit around the sides. Fats. And fats, the difference with fats is per gram, they have 9 calories. And that's the difference. They're over double the amount of calories. So they're quite calorific. People demonize them because of the amount of calories, but they're quite satiated. The problem is they're quite moreish as well. So that's why people are kind of careful with fats. Fats are so important for all over your body, right? Every cell has fat in them. Before, in the like 90s, 2000s, they were kind of demonized, and I was one of them. If it had more than 10% fat, wouldn't pick it up. And now I think we know it's balanced, right? Ultimately, once we've got our calories right, and we're looking at the macronutrient splits, fats are important. All of them are important. You know, all are important. And you can play about with the amounts, but I would say a good place to start, once you're logging, a good place to start would be, can I get an even mix of carbs, protein and fats? That's what I would do, especially if you're training. And I would go along with whatever you're training, really. I mean, marathon runners might be slightly different, but I'd still tell them, give it a go. You can try and go with a third of each macronutrient. So a third of your calories come from protein, a third of your calories come from carbs, a third of your calories come from fats. It's worth a try. I'm telling you, because you'll have an even distribution of macronutrients. And I think that's a beautiful way to start. However, this is where the pitfalls come. You're logging your food. You're like, let's just use simple numbers. Let's say you're allowed 100 grams of macronutrients for the day. It's much more, but we'll go with that. So then what's that? You might say, okay, that's 33 grams of carbs, 33 grams of protein, 33 grams of fats. And you do that, and you're like, yeah, I got it all right. You logged it. Boom, 33 grams of each. 33.33333. And that seems right? That seems good. You know, we've got a third of each. But this is the big mistake, right? What did we say at the start? Proteins have 4 calories per gram. Carbs have 4 calories per gram. Fats, 9 calories per gram. So if you actually did have a third, you was measuring it by grams, you would end up having twice as much fat. And then you would have messed up the percentages. So the key to this is, if you're logging, it might be worth, I'm not endorsing MyFitnessPal, but I am. I don't think for free you're able to get the conversion into percentage. But if you pay, when you log your foods, you literally, it will show you in grams, you press a button, it will show you in percentages. And that's the way to keep it up to date and on track with the percentage of each macronutrient you're eating. And I would practice that, go with that, have a balanced approach, practice logging, practice having equal amounts. The next thing I'd look at is probably try and get a decent amount of fiber in your diet. That's important, help you digest your food and stuff. Sugars, I would moderate them.
The recommended daily allowance for free sugars, which include added sugars and sugars naturally present in honey, syrups and fruit juices, is 30 grams for adults, so about 7 teaspoons. They don't include naturally occurring sugars in whole fruits, vegetables and milk, which are not considered harmful. So 7 teaspoons is recommended. Personally, I still look at the naturally occurring sugars because it does still give you a sugar spike. So I kind of manage those accordingly as well.
I would just moderate them. I'd really look at keeping your sugars quite low. You'll feel the difference. Then the next bit will be looking at healthy foods. What foods are highly nutritional, have got vitamins, minerals in them. And if you go for those type of foods, they will give you more energy. Now, the truth, you could do your split, and if you still enjoy eating burger and chips, you can put that into your calorie intake. You know, that's fine. I say fine. The most important thing is the numbers, remember. Then we're looking at the splits. Can you still get your 33% of protein while you're eating whatever you're eating? You know, a double cheeseburger or whatever it is. You still need to stick to the script. I tell people, go on that journey. Go on that journey. Eat what foods that you feel you enjoy, but there's got to be balance. I like people to experience. So I might say, yeah, go on, eat. You know, here's healthy options. But at the same time, we don't want to make it too drastic so they don't stick to it. So I say, look, just log it, but try and stick to the 33%. That'll be tough anyway. And then we go on a little journey, you know, it's a journey, and we allow the client or whoever it is to make some mistakes. And then they go, oh yeah, you know, that weekend I did eat that, I logged it and I got, my protein was low. And then you ask them, okay, how much energy did you have? And they'll be like, yeah, I felt sluggish. And they'll start realizing, damn, I need to maybe look at my food choices better. And at that point, remember, for someone to change, they've got to want to change. You know, 70% of change comes from the individual. So me saying, right, yeah, you have to eat this, that, eat this, you know, make sure you have whatever, good protein, your chicken breast, good fish, beef, you know, and don't get it twisted. I will give them that advice. I will show them good options, but it's got to be agreeable, because if they don't enjoy their diet, they're going to fall off. So you've got to play not the long game, just a week or two, and then you go through your foods and see how you're getting on and stuff. And you make adjustments, right? You make subtle adjustments. And from that space, you kind of start working it out. You start realizing, damn, when I ate those foods and I went to train, boy, I didn't have the energy, it felt tough today. And you start piecing it together. And that's the journey when it comes to nutrition. You've got to kind of get in the trenches, start logging your food, start looking at your protein, your fats and your carbs, your macronutrients. And as you get accustomed to logging the food, understanding a bit more what each macronutrient does, then you'll go on to realizing, okay, if I eat certain foods, I don't feel good. And then you'll naturally want to eat better quality foods, especially if you're training hard, especially if your results are flaking a little bit. That's not everyone though. I'll be real. Some people do manage their macros well and they get decent results as well. They train hard. They like the foods that they eat. They like a bit of, say, junk food. They like balance. And I do give the advice. I aim for 80% good whole foods, good foods that I think good produce, good nutritional value, good vitamins and minerals in them. I aim for that. And then 20%, it's a bit of a free-for-all. And that balance, I think 80-20 is a really healthy outlook. I don't think it's too extreme. I think you get a good bulk of your food from good sources, and then you're able to enjoy yourself. That 20% looks like one snack a day, really. One little treat or whatever a day. But yeah, it's all about balance and getting in the trenches and logging and getting used to understanding food a little bit better. And that's the thing, when they talk about calories, all calories ain't created equal. Yeah, it's true. If you're eating broccoli, it's got good minerals in it and stuff, vitamins and stuff, or you have ice cream, which has got low, hardly none, yeah, those calories are going to affect your body differently. And it's just knowing that, it's going through that procedure. And then hopefully you get a healthy relationship with food. Guys, please be sure to comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.
We have exciting news for our subscribers. Once we reach our goal of 500 subscribers, we will be giving away a Guide to Calories PDF currently available for purchase for £49 at atthept.co.uk completely for free.